Yo, what it do, family? We are back. High value basketball. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, family. Ya dig? Man, let's talk about Gilbert Arenas again. He is making waves in the media with these takes. Hey, I mean, the dude got an interesting perspective to say the least, if that's what we want to call it. Yo, so he back at it again. He's on Vlad TV. Of course, it was only one interview that he did, but if y'all know about Vlad TV, he breaks up the interviews into, like 12 different, mini sound bites, to basically help bump up the views on his page. So we have to be drip fed the content. But nevertheless, with the drip feed, he does have good stuff rolling out every once in a while. And so Gilbert Arenas definitely is giving us some jewels here to talk about. And this one, he talked about how he has not a single 90s player. Excuse me. In his top 10, he doesn't have any players that are before the 1990s. Not a single one. And he's Gilbert is Gilberting again, man. That's all I can say, because he's definitely running off with the same kind of tired, uh, bigger, faster, stronger, medical advancements, and the players, they're the most athletic that they've ever been, and they're all the most skilled that they've ever been, and all of that type of stuff. He runs on that same mantra, and to me, that mantra is kind of annoying because the mantra is they literally are just looking at players and somehow they're saying someone like a Bernard King, for instance, who literally is a legend, but an unheralded legend. He's saying somehow, Bernard King can't ever be in a potential top 10. And it's only because he's not a 90s player. And it doesn't make any sense because I know plenty of people when they have make a top 10, they have folk in it like a Bernard King. They have a Dr. J, for instance. They have Wilt Chamberlain in their top 10. Like to not to say that there's not a single person in any of the previous eras to not be able to be a top 10 level player, that's just asinine. It's just ridiculous because we got to understand that skill. Because I mean that is a thing. We we went in on him about his skill with Giannis thing, but that's a different kind of take. But when we're just talking about skill and ability on the court, if you see someone who's playing in a way that has a timeless appeal to it, that person's gonna be great in any era. Like I thought that was kind of more common knowledge, but based on what Gil is saying, he basically doesn't believe any of that. And I'm gonna poke some holes through it by naming just two players. Um, Now they did, of course, in the later stages of their career, literally in the twilight of their career, they did play into the 90s. So I guess they maybe don't count, possibly. But again, this was literally their twilight. We're talking about like 1994, 1992. Like they already out the league. So they really are 80s players. We got Magic Johnson and Larry freaking Bird, man. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you really mean to tell me that Magic Johnson shouldn't be in anybody's top 10, so to speak? Like, or he's just not a valid entry for a top 10? You mean to tell me Larry freaking Bird is not a valid entry for a top 10? And those are 80s players. Like, seriously, man. Like, what are we really talking about here? Magic Johnson is arguably the first or second greatest point guard in all of NBA. Most of the stuff he did was in the 80s. Larry Bird is considered a top three shooting guard. Excuse me, small forward in the history of the NBA, basically behind LeBron. And for some of the weirdos, behind Kevin Durant. These dudes being the second best in their position or first best in their position, that puts them in the top 10. Me personally, Magic is in my top 10. He's the GOAT point guard with Curry like literally on his coattails. Larry Bird is in my top 10. He's the second greatest small forward in my opinion behind LeBron James. Like these are 80s players, yo. And the reason why they get the credit is because their skill was freaking immaculate. Like you don't oh Larry Bird's shooting ability shouldn't be defaulted or discounted because he was shooting in the 80s. If you can shoot the ball from 40 feet, you can shoot the ball from 40 feet. 40 feet didn't change because we're now in 2020. Last time I checked, 40 feet is 40 feet, homie. Like, what? Like, what are we talking about? Like Magic Johnson with the speed and court vision, like we're seeing it with LeBron do it at a lesser level. Like LeBron, of course, he's LeBron, no discredit to LeBron, but his passing and court vision ability was not at Magic Johnson's level at all. Like it still currently isn't. And that was in the 80s. Like that stuff doesn't disappear. Like those type of skills don't just they just erode or something. Like passing the ball and doing some of the most outlandish lead passes and misdirection passes, that's timeless. Players in this current era ain't doing that. Not because that's just old era stuff. We don't do that no more. Because they can't. They can't. we got Gilbert Arenas' goofy self saying that certain players from certain eras shouldn't even be included because they were in an older era. You literally mean to tell me Kareem Abdul-Jabbar can't be considered a top 10 player when he up until this coming year, unless like say LeBron snaps a leg off or something, he's the all-time leading scorer with one of the most deadly, most consistent shots in all of NBA history. Yeah, it looked quote unquote plain if we want to talk about, step back, pull up, hezzy dribble shit. But dude, that same hook shot is unstoppable then as it is now. People just don't use it because they don't like that play style. Like, go back and watch the highlights. Yo, you couldn't. He was playing against other 6'10, other 7-footers. Last time I checked, 6'10 and 7 foot is still 6'10 and 7 foot. Whether it's the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010s. Like, what are we doing? Man, what are we doing? Like, dude got me so passionate because it's just like, come on, man. Like, you played in the NBA. If anybody should know better, it would be you. Like, it's so hollow and it's just a goofy argument, man. And I think I've said this earlier before when like David West said something about that. This bigger, faster, stronger argument. I'm gonna say it again. Like I say, we talk about the GOAT stuff with Michael Jordan. When he played, there were players in the league bigger, faster, stronger than him, man. Like I said, there was Clyde Drexler. There was there was Charles Barkley. Like Charles Barkley may not have been that much taller. He's probably about the same height, but faster and stronger and bigger, like as far as weight wise. And he snatched an MVP from Jordan. Like what? Jordan smashed them dudes because ultimately he was just a better player. He executed better. His skill level was better. His mental was better. Like these bigger, faster, stronger arguments are so silly, man. There's so many times where I done seen players who are bigger, faster, stronger in this current era, and they wilt. And they wilt when the moment comes because being bigger, faster, stronger ain't everything, yo. It just isn't. It just isn't. And I'll say this coming from a real world example. I remember because again, I've been playing ball, all of my life, up until adulthood. I still remember the phantoms of going out to the court, prime high school days. I'm in my high school, years, going out to the court, and for whatever reason, for about a couple of months, this old head just kept showing up to the court, and he was just dusting everybody out there. Old head. We talk about dude got gray hair in his head, coming out there with a bunch of 16 to 21-year-old players, and he came out there and made a fool out of three-fourths of us, yo. And it wasn't because he was faster or stronger, because most of us were, because we were younger and more agile. But that dude knew how to move his body. That dude had immaculate footwork. That dude had a liquid jump shot. That dude had a murderous pump fake. That dude's hezzy pull up dribble set up, his package, his bag was so ridiculously immense that his old head self was wrecking us. And that's what I'm talking about when Gilbert Arenas is saying this. Only 90s and up era players can be in top 10 due to their athleticism and size and all of this stuff. Man, I didn't seen it plenty of times where somebody less agile, less athletic has dusted me personally and other players. I remember on my high school team, as a I was more agile, could jump higher, run faster, played better defense, and all of that. Then there's one white boy on the team. Um, I forget his name. But yo, he can shoot lights out. Like, I mean, lights out. Dude can shoot from darn near anywhere on the court. Guess who got more playing time? He did. Because he could put the ball in the hoop at a more effective rate than my hyper athletic self could, simply because he ain't need to do all that, because all he had to do was pass him the ball. He take one dribble and he dropped the three. So it's like this whole thing about players being bigger, faster, stronger, man, that stuff don't mean that much. It means something, but if a player don't got the skill behind it, then nah, it's they're not that dope. And Gilbert Arenas coming with this angle, and then too possibly arguing that like the players of older eras weren't as skilled. That's just asinine, man. The superstars of every era are superstars for a reason, because they would be superstars in any era because they're just that ridiculous on the court. And so I'm gonna give my top 10 just to close it off, because again, I got Bird and Magic in there. Like I say, they may not count as 80s players, for people who want to be all extra and extra critique, but I count them as such because again, their prime in the vast majority of all of their accolades came in the 80s. So I do my top 10 in position wise. I keep it in an interesting kind of position fairness kind of thing. So you can critique it all you want. I really don't give a damn. But I go by position. So for me, like I say, my top 10 is no particular order, just listed by position. Point guard, I got Magic and Curry. Shooting guard, I got Jordan and Kobe. Small forward, I got LeBron and Bird. A power forward, I got Tim Duncan. And honestly, I'm gonna just throw it in there. It's early, but I don't give a damn. Y'all can hate me. Giannis. And then at center, I got, this is where things get a little quirky because I have too many people in it. But I have Akeem, I have Shaq, and yes, just as a special nod, I got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, I don't know what else to say, yo. Like, that's my top 10, and they got 80s players in it. Man, Gilbert Arenas just showing himself to be who he is. So hey, whatever, man. High value basketball. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. More updates coming soon. Holla.